Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. So the WBC, we know they're kind of always the front runners, the guys leading the way when it comes to decision making and being decisive when compared to the other sanctioning bodies. So what the WBC has done is they put some information out in regard to how they're handling their champions and how they're going to handle their champions going into unified or undisputed bouts and mandatories. So they put some information out for us to kind of mull over to give us an idea of what we can expect in 2023 when it comes to the WBC 2023 division status and what was ordered during the annual convention. Now, in regards to the information that they shared with us, that information was updated with discussions and everything that took place November through December of 2022. It almost sounds crazy to say last year, but last year. Now, this information they provided, there are certain fights that are actually under negotiations, and it could affect the way the orders were voted, because they actually have a vote on, I guess, how they're going to go about doing business with the fighters and the order and how they're going to actually have these guys fight. I guess there may be certain slots or so many slots in a year. Let me mute this real quick. Certain slots in a year that the WBC is trying to earn or maintain so they can ensure their champions fight and their mandatories get opportunities as well. So that could be a good sign and an indication that the WBC may have made some headway in regards to sitting down with all the sanctioning bodies and deciding on which sanctioning body's mandatory is going to get the first opportunity to fight or to challenge for a title. Remember, this was a big issue, and something that WBC was pushing for is to say, okay, look, if there's a unified champion or an undisputed, it's impossible for this individual who's unified or undisputed to defend 2 or 3 or even all 4 titles at the same time. Like, it's just impossible to do it. So instead of getting someone who achieves a goal like that or a milestone like that to become unified or undisputed, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of having an undisputed champion when we're just going to come out here, force a purse bid on them, and then strip the title away. So the WBC has always advocated, although some of it is crap in my opinion, but it seems like they've always advocated to have, one champion, a super champion in every division, meaning an undisputed. Okay? So when you look at what they're doing in the heavyweight division, when we talk about undisputed, the WBC is actually pushing for that. They did allow Tyson Fury to have an optional, non-mandatory fight in December, and he went and, of course, he stopped Chisora. But now that undisputed bout, bringing together Fury and Usyk, those negotiations are deep in the process. My understanding is everything's been agreed on. It's just firming up a date and a venue. So that's one piece of information that came out of the conference. The other piece of information came from the mouths of Frank Warren and Bob Arum and Usyk's handler. I keep butchering his last name. So that's a good thing. Now, the thing about this, right, is the winner of Tyson Fury and Usyk. This is a bit ambiguous. However, what I'm drawing from what the WBC is saying, there's not going to be a rematch clause between Fury and Usyk. Whoever wins that fight has to commit to fight the WBC mandatory. Now, when I read that the winner will commit to fighting the WBC mandatory, does that mean the winner of the first fight? Does that mean the winner of the rematch? Or does that mean the winner of the trilogy? Because if it's one and done, that means Fury and Usyk fight early next year. Andy Ruiz and Wilder fight early next year, and then mid next year, we start the summer off with a bang, because that means there'll be a undisputed heavyweight champion defending all 4 of his titles. And what I see happening, if this is what happens, is going to be Fury and Wilder 4. That's what you're going to get. Okay. Now, the thing is, Deontay Wilder hasn't really been saying much, because Andy Ruiz has done just about everything he can except, try to climb into bed with Wilder to get Wilder to finally sign the agreement, sign the contract, start to, advertise the fight and promote the fight, because Ruiz wants to make sure that Deontay Wilder is going to actually put ink to paper to make that fight happen. Now, we know Wilder doesn't really want to fight Ruiz next. He's only looking for huge fights, huge paydays. Wilder only has about 6 fights left in him, and then he's going off and he's sailing into the sunset. An Andy Ruiz fight, not really sure what kind of money that brings Deontay Wilder. We know there's been a bit of a challenge with Deontay Wilder in pay-per-view numbers. But at the end of the day, if Wilder and Ruiz were to fight, I'd probably say if we do a poll of 1,000 people, maybe 250 would say Ruiz wins. The other 750 would say Wilder wins. And I tend to side with the majority. I think Wilder would knock Andy Ruiz out pretty damn quickly. I understand what Andy Ruiz brings to the table. I understand Andy Ruiz, especially those quick hands. He's durable. I get it. Wilder's chin is not as strong as Andy Ruiz's chin. Let's just be fair, okay? But at the end of the day, Deontay Wilder has knocked out 100% of the opponents he faced. Now, for those of you who say, he didn't knock out Fury. Yes, he did. In the first fight. He knocked him out. Yeah, Fury, whatever happened, got back on his feet, but he was out. Cold. Okay? So he did knock Fury out. So let's just be clear. Every opponent Wilder's faced, he's got a knockout. Whether it's technical knockout or knocked him out cold, it's a knockout. And I can't see him struggling with Andy Ruiz or anyone else. Okay? When you're able to knock out every opponent you face, you can't. How can I expect to see anything different? Okay? So that's that with the heavyweights, Tyson Fury, Usyk, Wilder, Ruiz. I think next year we're going to see Fury, Wilder 4. Now, the Bridgerweight. I don't even really want to talk about no damn Bridgerweight, because what a joke, okay? But it is what it is. The WBC, it's good to have someone who has a team, the ability to brainstorm, develop a business case, and kind of have someone come and manage the project, right? And that's what you see. And the guy who's managing the project is ensuring effective communication with all the key stakeholders and making sure there's a change management process and trying to make sure the deliverable stays on course and to get it out, if not on time, get it out early. And the deliverable here with the Bridgerweight division is to really, in my opinion, get a notable champion pushed out to the boxing community to where everyone can recognize and start to give this champion the respect like what they're giving the guys in the other weight division. Because when it comes to Bridgerweight, that's still a little vague to a lot of people. You don't hear much about Oscar Rivas. He's been so inactive, man. And he was supposed to bubble up and take an opportunity to fight at heavyweight, and he's supposed to be fighting F.A. Akjaba, so that fell apart. So now Rivas, who was supposed to be fighting his home country of Colombia, is now fighting in Poland. If you guys didn't know that, against some guy named Lukas Rozansky. And his second mandatory will be against the winner of Alan Babak and Riyad Mary. So the contest is a final eliminator. So again, when you hear those names, unless you're like a truly diehard boxing fan, the only name that really jumps out at you is probably Oscar Rivas. But again, the Bridgerweight division is still fairly new. I think we're going to see more to come. And don't be surprised if some of these cruiserweights bubble up to Bridgerweight, or some of these heavyweights who are light in the butt side decide to cut a little weight and get down to Bridgerweight to increase their chances of winning a title. Okay? Then you have the cruiserweight division, and that's where you have Makabu, right? Makabu is the fighter who was supposed to be fighting Canelo. All that fell apart. And then Makabu now has a voluntary, and then after that, he has a mandatory against Nolan McCallion. And this is what's interesting about that, right? Badou Jack is still in the mix, and Badou Jack's fighting at cruiserweight. So Badou Jack may end up winning the WBC title at cruiserweight because you have Makabu making that voluntary defense, right? Then a mandatory against Noel McCallion. Then you have Hibiscus Muchunu versus Badou Jack in a final eliminator. So it's kind of like what Boots Ennis is in with this guy Karen. He's in a final eliminator. Then Boots Ennis is actually gonna be bubbling up to get in line to fight for a title. So Badou Jack is putting himself in a good position to pick up a cruiserweight title. Then at light heavyweight, which to me is a very, very, very fun division right now. You got Bertabiev, who's a killer, right? Bertabiev, I've done videos on this man. He's about to fight he's about to fight in his WBO mandatory defense against Anthony Yarde. Now this is somewhat of a tough fight because Yarde isn't just going to lay down, but Bertabiev should knock him out no problem. If Kovalev can knock him out with a jab, Bertabiev can get him out of there. Bertabiev has a very expanded amateur background. He's a hard hitter. When you watch him in the ring, there's little things he does that the untrained eye doesn't pick up on. There's a reason why I think he has actually a 100% KO ratio, doesn't he? Isn't he 100%? And also Virgil Ortiz. I got to double check, but I believe Bertabiev is 100. I believe he's 100 has 100% KO ratio. I got to double check. I could be getting a mix up with I know Virgil Ortiz does, but I think Bertabiev is 100% too. But what I'm getting at is with him fighting Yarde, he's going to beat Yarde. Then unfortunately, right, the winner must face the WBC mandatory, Caleb Smith. I've already done videos on this. I'm not going to waste your time. This shows you how foul the sanctioning bodies can be. See, because everyone thinks that if there's an undisputed fight to be made, that takes precedence over any other bout that can be made. That's not true. All sanctioning bodies have to agree. Okay? And I'm always trumpeting that, but you get people who come out here trying to tell me I'm wrong. Even some of these other content creators with huge channels, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. I'm telling you guys. That's why I keep saying Spence and Crawford, that shit ain't happening this year. Because all the sanctioning bodies got to be on the same page, and they're not. Okay? So what you see happening here is Bertabiev and Yarde, they say, if we win, they both saying, if I win, we want to fight Bivol for the undisputed distinction. Bivol's saying he wants to fight for the undisputed distinction. The WBC is saying, no, I don't care what y'all want. We want our mandatory to get an opportunity. And so what that's doing is that's holding up a possibility of making an undisputed bout between Bivol and the winner of Bertabiev and Yarde. So what you're going to see is I think Bertabiev knocks out Yarde. Then I think Bertabiev knocks out Caleb Smith. And then I think that end of the year we'll see Bertabiev and Bivol, unless Bivol decides to take a hard fight and loses. But Bivol already said he's going to wait. See, that's the other thing. Bivol said, I'm not going to go out here and fight anyone. Because remember, Canelo wants to fight Bivol. And Bivol shot Canelo down. Canelo's not carrying that weight he used to carry. Remember, Canelo come basically into your house, sleep with your wife, and then go in your bed. First, he'll come into your house, eat your food, drink out your cup. He'll put on your clothes. Then he'll go in there, lay in the bed, sleep with your wife, get in your car, and drive back to his house the next morning. Like, that's the kind of pull that Canelo had at one point. But now you're seeing that money and all that other crap, it doesn't matter. That's nothing to motivate Bivol or anyone else. They're just not going to allow Canelo, who really hasn't earned the right at light heavyweight, to dictate any terms. And Bivol is holding his ground, and I'm glad to see that he's doing that. So that's what you're going to see after Yarde and Bertabiev. They're going to fight Caleb Smith, and then the winner of that will get a shot for the undisputed distinction if Bival's still holding on to his belt. Then at super middleweight, again, Canelo Alvarez, he's undergone surgery and is having rehab on his left wrist. David Benavidez, who's the interim champion, will fight Caleb Plant in March. The winner becomes a mandatory challenger. So next year, after Canelo gets his hand right, after the surgery, right, post-surgery recovery, everything's good, you should see Canelo getting in the ring. It won't be against Benavidez or Plant. I'm sure he'll have it. He'll be afforded a non-mandatory defense, just something to make sure the hand's working properly, get the ring rust off, and that's going to put Plant and Benavidez on the sideline for a while until the winner of Plant Benavidez on the sideline, to where Canelo then gets in the ring with them, and they're coming off probably of a pretty long period of inactivity. So look at this, how that's set up. Set up to give Canelo an advantage. That's just how I see it. If you think I'm wrong, that's fine, but that's just how I see it. But nevertheless, this year, you should see Canelo Alvarez defending against the winner of Plant and Benavidez. You come on down to middleweight, you got the champion, man. Jamal Charlo, who's, almost 2 years of inactivity. Craziness. A little bit of stuff in his personal life. I'm not going into that. And I think it's a whole lot of just the money not being there at Showtime and even over at PBC, and the slots not being there. And if there were opportunities to get Jamal Charlo a fight, he probably wouldn't want to be the co-main. You see, and with these networks right now, they got to knock the ball out the park with the fights they're making. They can't just have any and everybody come out there, give them the kind of money they're asking for, and put them in a main event slot, and they don't produce the viewership that they're looking for. The networks need that. These promoters need that. They need money. They need viewership. They need ticket sales. They need arenas sold out. And if it's going on pay-per-view, they need some, handsome pay-per-view numbers. Jamal Charlo is not that guy. So I think between his professional struggles and his personal struggles, that's why he hasn't been in the ring. I understand what's been put out there to the world, but I'm not buying it. I think really it has a lot to do with not being able to pay him what he wants, and just him being high risk as far as the type of numbers they're looking for. But nevertheless, he was injured, right? That's what they reported, so we gotta run with that. And then there became an interim champion, Carlos Adames, who was at the convention. He asked to become the mandatory. So this is what's going on now. Both champions will make a voluntary defense, all right? That's why Charlo's coming back to fight. Adames is going to get a fight, all right? They're going to make a voluntary defense, and the winner will fight each other for the undisputed WBC middleweight championships. So Jamal Charlo and Adames are going to be fighting for the undisputed WBC middleweight championships. And I think that's pretty cool, man. So Suleiman is out there doing his work. So then you got, this is what makes it even more interesting, right? At super welterweight, let me tell you, man, welterweight, super welterweight, from 130 all the way up to 154 is the weight divisions are stacked. But at super welterweight, you got Jamal Charlo, right? Okay, what you say? Jamal earned his. Jamal earned his. You know what do these young boys say? From the mud, get it out the mud. I don't know what the hell that means, but it sounds like, if your effort's greater, your reward will be greater. So that's kind of what I liken it to. But talk about somebody, man, rising from the ashes like the phoenix and just taking what's his in the world. But he's supposed to be fighting Tim Tszyu. A little bit of an issue. WBO wanted him. It was mandatory for the WBO. WBO was giving Jamel some pressure. Hey, send us the documentation, a detailed medical explanation of what's going on with your hand, prognosis, when we can expect to see you back in the ring. He took care of that. WBO is satisfied. So now Jamal Charlo is going to sit back, wait a few months, get his hand together, and then he should be getting in the ring with Tim Tszyu. Meanwhile, unified champion Alicia Baumgartner, who's trained by Tony Harrison, proposed to fight Sebastian versus former champ Tony Harrison for the mandatory. So Tony Harrison and Sebastian Fundora is supposed to be getting it on for the mandatory. That's a good fight. Don't sleep on Tony Harrison. Fundora, I just need the right person to get in there and just bing, bing, bing him. Because once Fundora gets tagged up, Fundora's going down. He's tough. He can fight. We saw what he did with Erickson Lubin. I didn't expect that. But if he gets in there with someone who's going to actually put that pressure on him, not saying Harrison's the guy to do it, but Harrison has a good IQ. He can box. But I just can't see Harrison being okay with Fundora maintaining the distance, controlling the real estate in the ring, and just outboxing him. I just see Harrison, trying to find a way to win in a fight with Fundora. But the winner of that will be in line for a shot at the winner of Jermell Charlo and Zoo. So that's good news. The number 5, Charles Conwell, is to fight the number 9, Juan Carlos Abreu, in a semifinal eliminator. Jermell Charlo, we all know he has a broken hand. Fundora is going to make a voluntary defense. Then down at welterweight, I've been covering the welterweight so much that I don't even want to talk about it, but Earl Spence and Crawford didn't materialize, so Spence is supposed to be fighting Keith Thurman. I think everybody knows that. I'm not going to get into that anymore. Super lightweight, Regis Prograis and Zepeda. They fought for that vacant. And then Teofimo Lopez, Sandor Martin, they fought. Regis won the WBC title. Now, first mandatory versus Ramirez was ordered. Ramirez decided not to participate in the fight. Prograis has been awarded a voluntary defense. Now, Prograis' voluntary defense. Not sure who he's going to fight. People don't want to fight Regis Prograis. But Broner has called him out. So maybe Prograis will wait and see what happens with Broner. Maybe he doesn't. But what a fight that would be, Broner and Prograis. I think Broner loses, but he has the skill set, he has the ability, he has the power. He has it all to get in there and beat anybody. But him getting down to 140, Tom Cruise Mission Impossible. It's just not going to happen. So I'm not sure if Broner will ever become the undisputed at 140 like he says he wants to. But if he has the discipline and the effort is there, he can do it. So more to come on what Prograis is going to do with his voluntary defense. Now, when you get all the way down to lightweight, look, Haney is a man. He's going to beat Lomachenko. I don't care what anyone says, man. And then Isaac Cruz and, what's his name, Shakur Stevenson, that's still on the table. We still know Isaac Cruz doesn't want to fight. Stevenson wanted to fight. But my understanding is that's still something that's on the table. It's not a done deal. So we'll see what's going to happen with all of that. But it seems like that's still something that's a possibility this year. And then when you come on down to super featherweight, Ray Vargas is a monster. He's supposed to be fighting Oshaki Foster for that vacant crown, featherweights, and super bantamweight and super flyweight and all that. I don't even want to get into all that crap, man. But what I'll tell you is there are a lot of good things happening out there, man. And I am looking forward to what's to come. But the biggest thing I took out of all this is that Shakur Stevenson, he's not off the hook for getting in there with Pitbull Cruz, although we know that neither one of them really want to do the fight. Shakur Stevenson would do it, but it sounds like he's kind of moved on, ship sail. But what looks the most interesting to me is this Wilder Fury 4. That looks to be the most interesting to me. Wilder Fury 4. And that seems to be the only thing that looks like it's going to really come to fruition without any hiccups. And then to see if Canelo Alvarez actually goes forward to fight the winner of Plant and Benavidez. So those are the two things that actually seem within reach. Everything else, we'll wait and see how it plays out. But I would like to see what happens and if those fights can actually materialize. But the WBC seems to have done their part to try to put together a good set of fights for this year. But that being said, more to come. Like I said, there's always going to be updates, always going to be changes. So we'll just, kind of play it by ear and wait to see what else comes out of all this. That being said, y'all keep cool. WBC 2023 division status, what's been ordered, latest and greatest, you got it. Keep cool. I'm in the Bruce.